So, welcome everyone to this week's Wednesday webinar. For those of you that's your first time, my name is Charlie, and I'm joined today by my colleague Caitlin. And we come together every Wednesday for an hour at 3 o'clock to talk through a topic, a subject in the world of AI to help everyone keep on top of this fast moving space. And really excited to share what we're going to walk through today. So we go through three topics each Wednesday. The first is the main topic of the day. And actually, knowing what we're going to be covering today, this is probably going to be the bulk of our hour that we're going to spend together. We're going to get into some detail about how we actually organize these webinars. We then sometimes have about 15 minutes of talking about AI in the news. We may not have time for that. There's a couple of updates that have happened in the last 7 days that we might want to touch on right as we get to the end. But we'll see what time we've got for that. And then, as always, we love to hear your questions. So you may have questions about some of the stuff that we're talking about as we get into the marketing workflows, but also any other questions that you've got. So if this is your first time coming on a Zoom webinar, then up at the top or maybe at the bottom of your screen, depending on what device you're on, you'll see there's a chat input box. So you can put some chat in there. And then there's also a Q&A. So if you've got more of a sort of formal question that you want to ask, then pop it in there. And between Caitlin and I, we will try to keep an eye on things, and we'll come back to you during the session. Don't wait until the end if you've got a question. So with that, let's head into our main topic of the day. And maybe Caitlin, just before we dive in, you want to introduce yourself, say a few words.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Charlie. It
Oh,
is.
I can't hear you, and I
Oh,
don't know whether that's my. Oh, have another go.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, it was my
Okay,
fault.
great. Hopefully, everyone else can hear me as well. Um, yeah, it's great to join you on this side of the webinar today. I am so excited to take everyone through these processes that we've been building, and maybe even get some feedback back.
Excellent. Well, let's dive into the. Um, Caitlin and I have enjoy putting these webinars on every week, and we spend a lot of time thinking about what is going to be useful, valuable content to our audience. And we live in this interesting sort of intersection of AI and what the models can do, but importantly, business and how business works and how companies are able to use these tools. And we try and sit in that intersection and translate the technology into something that is useful. And when we were chatting last week about what would be great for a webinar this week, we thought, well, hang on, like we're using AI the whole way through this process about how we create these very webinars. So why don't we use that as a thread that we're going to go through? So we're going to walk you through step by step about how we bring a webinar like this to life. And so what are those steps, just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover over the next hour? So firstly, how do we come up with an idea for a webinar? And having come up with that idea, how do we then get that on the website so that you, our lovely listeners, can decide that you want to join that and can register? Getting the content for that webinar onto the Zoom registration page that you will have filled in. How do we then promote that webinar out onto LinkedIn and our different channels? Creating the deck. And this is a very common topic that comes up with our customers. How do we use AI in our presentations? Then, as you know, when you're creating a webinar, it's all about the follow-up. So how do we create that post-webinar follow-up communication so that it can be sent out through HubSpot, which is what we use for our comms? Running the webinar itself, you're in it. So, how do we use AI through this process? Once the webinar is finished, then creating the Zoom recording link so that we can distribute that out to people, posting it up on YouTube within an hour of the event so that people can start tracking and watching that online. Putting it onto the website so that everyone that comes to our website can see all of our past sessions. And then finally, how do we take this content and turn that into other pieces of content. So that might be blog posts, it might be Twitter threads, it might be LinkedIn posts, it might be snippets for TikTok or Instagram. It's like, how do we take this valuable content and put it in loads of different directions? So that's the journey that we're going to go on. We're going to cover quite a lot. And well, this is why we record it, so that you can come back and see it later on. What I'm going to start with is showing you that ideation process. Like, how do we come up with an idea for a webinar and start to put that on the website so that people can register for it? And to do this, I'm going to introduce you to skills in Claude. And we're going to use a number of these skills. Caitlin's going to demonstrate some in a moment. And so it's worth spending a moment just to explain what a skill is and how it's. So a skill is a concept that was created by Anthropic through their platform Claude. And they've actually turned it into an open standard. So a skill is going to appear in ChatGPT and Gemini very shortly. So let me move over to my own Claude so that you can see what a skill is. And let me go here. This is our webinar writer skill. So what is a skill, you say, Charlie? Well, it's a way of doing something. So you can think about the processes you have in your marketing team. You can think of maybe you've got Visio diagrams or swim lanes, or you've written something down in a Google Doc or a Word document. Here's how we do something. It's like how you might train a new starter in your team. And so in our webinar writer skill, we've given it two modes. So the first is to help me to come up with ideas and help me think through what we might do. But if I already had an idea, actually just to take that idea and develop it into something that we can put onto the website. And this skill, which was written in conjunction with Claude, I didn't type this out myself, Claude wrote this. It basically explains the process. In addition to the skill, we've got different references that are part of the skill file. So helping us to ideate on different webinar ideas, the interview guide, questions to ask me as we're ideating these things. What's the webinar topic or title? When's it scheduled for? A bit of an overview of our webinar program and why we're creating webinars and the types of topics we might want. And then we've got assets here, which is our webinar template. So we use a thing called Sanity, which is our content management system. And we need to put the right fields into Sanity so that this shows up on our website. Now, the best way to understand a skill is to use it. So let me go back here to a new chat, and I'm going to say, hey, Claude, can we use our webinar writer skill? I want to create a new Wednesday webinar. So that's quite a broad, I've given it very little detail because I want to show you what's happening here. So firstly, it's saying, oh, I need to use the webinar writer skill, and it's now reading that skill file that we looked at. It's basically going, oh, right, I need to learn how to do webinars. Now it's checking Sanity, which is our actual CMS, and it's looking at what webinars we've got coming up. So good context. Today is Wednesday the 18th. The Marketing AI Workflows webinar is today. Okay, we're in it. Next available slot is Wednesday the 25th of February at 3 p.m. GMT. Here are some recent topics that you've covered. What would you like to do? Ideation or development? So these were the two modes that were in the skill. Well, I've already got a topic in mind, so I'm going to click that. What's the topic? Well, actually, we've been having some great success building a thing called Carolina, which is our project manager. So she runs on the Claude Agent SDK, and she lives in a Vercel sandbox. And we recently wrote a blog post on this. In fact, if you use the Sanity connector, you'll be able to read this blog post. That's what we want to do the webinar on next week. So I've already written a blog post about this, so we can basically feed that into Carolina. Great, found it. Let me read the full blog post. It's quite a long one, so let's see. Excellent. I've read the whole post. Rich material. Next Wednesday is the 25th of February. Now let me interview to make the webinar description compelling. What's the core problem this addresses? Why should a business leader care right now? Okay, this is great. I'm actually doing a demo at the moment. So could you use your best judgment, having read the blog post, and fill out what you need so that we can get on with pushing this into Sanity? In reality, I would be having a 5 or 10 minute chat with Claude to get this ready. Right, let me draft this and publish this now. Now publishing directly to Sanity. And what this is able to do using our Sanity connector is actually push this directly into Sanity, which is here. So I'm going to show you this in a minute. So this is this week's one. You can see that there is no webinar yet for next week. Oh, she's building. There we go. Here's our webinar that's just arrived. Meet Carolina, how we built an AI project manager that works like a human team member. Here we go. I'm going to choose the date, and I want this for next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. It's going to be 1 hour. Most teams are drowning in project admin. We built Carolina. Great. Here's the full description. Let me just double check what she's put in here. Who should attend? I'm just going to delete this because I don't know why she's put that in. A little bit of tweaking. Great. And now I'm going to publish this. Let me just show you here on the website. We have got no upcoming sessions. And if I go here, I'm now going to publish this. All right, so that's now live. And if I refresh here, coming up next, meet Carolina, how we built an AI project manager that works like a team member, like a human team member. 6 days, white agents. Okay, excellent. Now, in the reality, I would have spent more time iterating on my conversation with Claude to start with and make some more detailed checks in Sanity before it went live. But for the purposes of this, you can see that we've taken a blog post and we've now got our webinar for next week live, all in just a couple of minutes. I can see a couple of questions. Oh, well, just amazing. Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Well, don't thank me. Thank Claude. That's Claude's done the work there. Now what have I done? There we go. So now our webinar is live. Let me go back to my deck here. And so we've used the webinar skill. And we've put it into Sanity. And we've then published it. And it's now on the website. So now, Caitlin, what's your next part of the process?
Tough act to follow, Charlie. Do you want to let me share my
Yeah,
screen?
absolutely. Let me stop sharing. And then you should be able to share now.
Perfect. All right, can you see my screen?
I can indeed.
Perfect. Right, so at this point, when the website has been updated, I will literally go to the website and then copy and paste that information and then add it to the Zoom landing page. And this part of the process isn't automated. There isn't a connector between Claude and Zoom right now, but it's a really straightforward step anyway. And once that's done, then we can publish the event and people can start signing up.
Awesome.
Right, now that we have the event published, obviously we want to promote it, and LinkedIn is the channel that we're using to drive signups. So obviously I created a LinkedIn post generator skill. So I'm going to head over to Claude and walk you through that. So one of the main things that I think when it comes to creating skills or using AI generally to draft copy is that you want to be really specific about what you want it to do, but then also what you don't want it to do. And I'm just going to scroll down here. So this is all this is something that I've built through trial and error. Like, I don't want it to use any corporate language or any jargon, any qualifiers or any fillers. And I think the more that people are using Claude and ChatGPT and AI tools in general, the more easy it is to spot these patterns that AI tends to fall into. I have also given it some examples of posts that have been written that I really like that have been written by a human just to add, just to make sure that what it's generating does sound like it's been written by a person. And luckily, Charlie is a bit of a LinkedIn influencer, so I've added a ton of his posts as well, just as a reference point. So let's go ahead and test that out. Hey Claude, can you generate a few LinkedIn posts for our upcoming webinar on Carolina, the AI agent? And what I find with this skill is that it helps me keep on top of posting. So it will build a post for Mondays ahead of the event, and then for Wednesdays, and then a follow-up post for Thursdays. And it's just a really good way of executing this every week.
What I really like about this is that because we're using Sanity as the connector, we've only just put that blog post, that webinar in Sanity using the webinar writer, but Caitlin's skill is looking at Sanity, and so it's just pulled all of that information straight into her skill without me having to pass it directly to Caitlin.
Yeah, definitely. And that connection between Claude and Sanity proves itself to be so useful in so many of these different skills, and especially where the content of the webinar changes week to week. It's so helpful not having to go back and remind Claude of all of these changes. All right, so taking a look at this, it's okay. I will definitely come in and make some more changes. But like I mentioned, just having something ready to go for Monday and for Wednesday and then for Thursday is a huge help.
Awesome. What is next?
All right, so the next thing, and I think actually, I think I might have seen a question pop up
Yeah, let me have a look.
in the chat. Can you see that, Charlie?
Yeah, Andy's just saying, when I created my first custom skill this week, I wasn't sure of all the content needed to write a good skill. So I asked Claude to help me write the specific skill and ask me all the questions. Worked a treat. Um, Spot on, Andy. I very rarely go more than about 8 seconds before asking Claude, how do I do this? And it's this sort of virtuous circle of it being able to build itself. Yeah, we'll show a couple of things before we wrap up at the end here about how you can help use skills to build skills.
Nice. All right, the next thing in the process is the deck. And I think that there's so much appetite for automating this using AI. Um, in in Kowalah's context, that is something that I have tried and experimented with, but it hasn't or it isn't something that I think makes sense at this point in time. And that's because the decks that we tend to use every week are quite minimalistic. So actually just a small amount of changes that could be automated by Claude uh, need to be made. And the other reason is that when I've tried it before, it actually ends up adding a lot more friction and taking more time than just going in and making these changes. But I did want to show you how you might actually do this. So I'll head over to Claude again. Hey Claude, can you find the demo template in Canva and can you update it with the upcoming webinar on Carolina, the AI agent? So this connector between Claude and Canva is actually really cool. And I think that the use case here would be if you are creating a lot of content, like bulk content, or trying to use a lot of different sources. Um, nice. Okay, so it's found the template and let's see what's going on here. What's the webinar title? It's this one. And it's Wednesday, the 25th of February. All right. Just make it up.
Love it.
So I'm noticing some changes in Claude, some updates. This feels new.
It's they're making so many updates so fast. It's fun when we do these webinars because we're on a voyage of discovery, just like you are.
All right,
Okay.
so it is updating those pages. Yes, go ahead and make the changes so that we can take a look at what you've done. Okay, so it's updated it with the title. It's added a value proposition as well. It's updated the agenda slide as well as the holding slide. And once again, I think that the value in this would be if you had a lot of things that you had to update and you had a pre-existing template. But this process for me of going to Claude and then coming here and then making further changes just adds on more time than directly editing the deck.
Cool. Oh yeah, because you're in a different deck there.
All right, back to the actual deck. Yeah, so that is the connector between Claude and Canva. And just wanted to also make a point of saying that even uh, the best intended prompts that reference your brand kits or your brand colors that are really specific, I found in my experience that they don't actually do what you want them to do. And I don't think at this point there is a replacement of, human stylistic choices or art direction. And I think, Charlie, you had a really amazing point to make about this as well.
Yeah, I think even before AI came along, if ever you're coming up with a presentation that you want to do, PowerPoint or Google Slides should be the last thing you come to. Once you've mapped out your talk track, the thinking, the visual cues or aids that you want to use, you should be planning this out, on a bit of paper or on a whiteboard. And then the last thing you do is come to bringing that together as slides. One of the challenges, and I mentioned at the start, like in the clients that we work with, this comes up in every team. Like, can AI build my slides? Can AI build my slides? Well, AI can build your slides, but in doing that up front, you basically have outsourced your thinking about what you want to have in each of those slides. And it will tend to have a lot of words because AI is good at putting words on a slide. I mean, if you go back one slide, Caitlin, um, yeah, I mean that you can go to that one that you had just there. So here we want to make the point on this slide where we're talking about deck creation and we want to talk about Canva and we want to talk about how we have the template. when Caitlin and I were pulling this together, we said, right, we're going to have this slide. And we took a screenshot and we put that onto the slide. And then we said, what are we going to call this slide? Well, let's talk about deck creation because that's what we're doing. AI doesn't add anything to this. Like we have to go and get that slide. We have to have thought about what our talk track is, and we have to put it together. AI can't add anything to this. And if we do ask AI to help us with this, we're going to end up with loads of words and bullet points on the slide. So I very much think about this when we're creating the decks, that this is very much about us and the human element of our creativity, of our judgment, of our taste in terms of what we want to talk about. And as we go through this whole process, where can AI help us in its creativity or taking some of the heavy lifting of putting stuff into Sanity or into HubSpot? And where do we as humans do our bit, which is our thinking that we can bring to it?
All right. So I think that this is your segment, Charlie. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop sharing.
You stop sharing, and then I will share back. So we've got a section of our webinar each week, which is called AI in the News. And this is really important because there's so much stuff that is going on in the world of AI. We get asked a lot, like, how do you guys keep up with everything? Like, there's so much happening, so many releases. Like in my role, like we just can't keep up with it. So we almost sort of shut down. Like, how does Kowalah keep up with things? Well, we use an agent in ChatGPT. So ChatGPT allows you to set up an agent that can be run at a recurring interval. So here is my agent. It runs Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. And the prompt is exactly what you can see in front of you. Generate a report showing the latest updates and product releases in the world of AI from OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, Copilot, and Grok over the past 7 days. The report is intended to inform the AI in the news section on the Wednesday webinar, include any relevant announcements and key product releases. So on a Wednesday morning, I get an email at about 9:03 saying your report has just run. And then I'm able to come into ChatGPT and it'll say, here. So this is what I got this morning. Here's your report in a convenient file format, AI in the news. And it's broken down by OpenAI. And so they launched a new model earlier this week that goes a little bit faster. Then Anthropic, last night, they launched Claude Sonnet 4.6. So this is great. I'm able to go back to individual sources that I can find. There's different bits and pieces that I can get myself up to speed. They raised $30 billion at some massive valuation. Google Gemini, excellent. Microsoft GitHub Copilot, okay, excellent. A bit about Grok. And so I find this super useful that at 10 o'clock in the morning, basically on the Wednesday, I'm able to scan through and go, right, what is useful for our customers? And so I'm thinking about our business users that are trying to understand the business context. So I might not put in something that's focused at developers. I might not put something that's more focused on sort of the back end. And I might talk more about a new model or new thing that people are able to use. So that is that process there. And then I think I might be handing back to you, Caitlin.
Yeah, please do. And just on what you were saying about the GPT that you've built for the AI in the news segment, this is a way of us being able to get this content made so quickly in such a tight turnaround, doing it every
Mhm.
week, having a lot of other things going on as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to share your screen as you're getting ready, but I think a little bit about the Glastonbury Festival. I live near Glastonbury, and whilst we're in a fallow year this year, no Glastonbury, I always remember them saying that it takes longer than 12 months to organise a Glastonbury Festival. So by the time you're having a Glastonbury Festival, you're already 6 months through organising the next one. And it's a little bit like this with our webinars. They're every 7 days, and it takes longer than 7 days to organize and run it. So we've got this sort of conveyor belt of where we're already organizing the next 2 or 3 weeks whilst we're working on this. So this system that Caitlin has built, it's the only way that we're able to deliver these webinars every 7 days so consistently.
Nice. All right. So something that I like to have done every week ahead of the webinar is the follow-up letter. Um, so the skill that I built in Claude relies on the information that we have in Sanity. And that's how I can get that done ahead of time. So I'm not going to go through the skill itself, but let's try it out here. Hey Claude, can you spin up a follow-up letter for an upcoming webinar on Carolina, the AI agent? This is for a demo, but you should be able to get that ready using the content in Sanity. Oh. Can you create a follow-up letter for our webinar on Carolina, the AI agent, using the information that is in Sanity?
While that's doing that, I'll do a bit of live training for anyone that's using Whisper Flow. At the top of your screen, Caitlin, you'll see the Whisper Flow icon, which is next to the Claude one. Left one more. There you go. And you can paste last transcript. So if
Okay.
ever you have forgotten to put your cursor in the right place and it says, I don't know where to put it, then it's already there.
Okay, I didn't know that. Nice.
Top tip, top tip. Um, I don't know why that's not playing. We always say that back in the day on Blue Peter, they used to say, never work with children or animals. And we say that AI fits in that. Oh, no, he's getting going now. That
A little
it,
bit of patience.
exactly, it's live. What's going to do? And you can see how these connectors, whether it is Canva or whether it is Sanity, whether it's your Google Drive or SharePoint, whether it's HubSpot, Zero is our accounting system, building or turning on all these connectors so that Claude has got eyes and ears into all of your other systems allows Claude to be really valuable. If Claude didn't have those connections, then you're constantly just like copying and pasting stuff across. It doesn't actually help you at all.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so it has created this for us. It's sent through a few different subject line options and then the body of the email. Um, there is a connector between Claude and HubSpot, and that is something that we are trying to get up and running for me. But right now, what I'll do is just take this, copy and paste it, and then add it to the HubSpot template, ready to go once the webinar is finished.
Fantastic. Yeah, and like you're saying there, Caitlin, like the ability for us to run these webinars consistently is about us all being like 2, 3 steps ahead. So the follow-up email to this webinar that we're on right now has already been written and it's already in
Yeah.
HubSpot. So it means that in 1 hour from now, when we've got the Zoom recording, that's all ready to come out. There's none of this like we'll follow up a week later. It's straight out. I do. Owen just asked a good question about the previous section, which was about the ChatGPT agent, and it was like, why do you use ChatGPT and not Claude? The main reason is that you can schedule this agent to run in ChatGPT, but you can't yet schedule a skill or anything to run at a future time in the sort of the native Claude interface. I could build something that could run somewhere else, but in ChatGPT it just does it automatically, and so that's why I use it in ChatGPT. That I don't need to think about it; it just arrives in my inbox at 9:03 on a Wednesday.
Great. So then every Wednesday we have the live event, which we're part of now. No automation happening here. This is something that we manage completely ourselves through the Zoom Webinar Plus subscription that we have. And once that is done, it is a matter of waiting for the recording to be uploaded to the cloud. Um, and at that point, I'll go ahead and add the video to the Kowalah YouTube channel. Um, to help speed this process up, I have a YouTube description generator skill, obviously, and I will add the webinar transcript, and then it will create a timestamp that I add to that description. Should we demo this, Charlie?
Yeah, let's do that. And I think as you do this, well, multitasking, um, do you have a degree in skill creation? Like, what was your experience in, are you a developer? Like, what's it been like to get to creating your first skills?
Um, no, not a developer. No degree in making skills. Um, this has been a process of trial and error. Something that I've learned from making skills is that before you package that skill up and you make it part of your skills directory or your organization skills, a good thing to do would be to test it, and you would test it by asking it to do what it's intended to do. So with the LinkedIn post generator skill, uh, I just would get it to generate posts, and then that way I could see if anything that I didn't like was slipping through the cracks. Um, so purely just playing around with it, trial and error, seeing what works, and getting as specific about what you want it to do as possible.
Mm.
Right, I'm just going to add this command. Can you generate a YouTube description for our webinar on AI marketing workflows? I don't have the transcript, so just make it up because this is a demo, but use the information that you have in Sanity to fill the rest of the gaps.
What I love about watching you do this is that you're very brave in that I tend to steer Claude by saying, "Can you use the webinar writer skill, or can you do this?" But you're just asking what you want, and it's had 100% hit rate of picking up the right skill and using it, which is fantastic.
Not all the time, I do tend to be quite specific as well. But here we go. Okay, so it's understood the request perfectly. And this is the format that we have for every description. It's included the timestamps and information about upcoming webinars. So that's great. I will then add that to the description, get that posted. And I think Charlie mentioned this earlier. This is about like the webinar's not just about the event that we run every week, it's also about the other pieces of content that we're able to create from it. And just having skills to do small things like write descriptions and maintain consistency means that doing this every week is made a lot easier between the two of
Mhm.
us.
And we're not going to show it today, but when you do this, it blows your mind. Claude has also got a thing called Claude for Chrome, and you can give it in the skill instructions for this YouTube description to say, can you use your Claude for Chrome extension and then navigate to YouTube and then fill out that description to create the video. So it can actually do that itself. But maybe we'll keep that on ice for another webinar. But watching Claude click around in other systems and fill it in with all of this, next level.
Right, I think that that might be over to you again, Charlie.
Yeah. So if you stop sharing, and I will share back again. And let's go. Here we go. And so um, having done all of those things, Caitlin will have uploaded the YouTube video, so it will be there. And then all I then do is then come back to Sanity, or in fact, Caitlin will have done this, is come back to Sanity, and let me move this out the way slightly. So if I go to today's webinar that we're on right now, what Caitlin would then do is just move this to completed, would then add in the YouTube recording and then hit publish. And what that then does is then put this immediately into our past sessions archive. So here's the one that we were on last week. And so within 1 hour from the end of the event, everyone's got their email update, whether they attended or they didn't attend. They've got the link to the YouTube. It's on the website. It's already generating traffic off the back of that. And it means that we're just creating content at a crazy rate. I've always said to Caitlin, whilst it's wonderful to have human beings on each webinar, and we thank you very much for being here, it's also about everyone that comes afterwards. And so we're getting hundreds of views. We're not at Mr. Beast levels yet, but we're getting hundreds of views of people that just aren't, able to join at 3 o'clock, on a Wednesday afternoon, but they still want to learn the subject. And so for us, the ability to get this content out there, done, and then by literally 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, Caitlin and we're already thinking about next week, and we don't have to worry about anything that is happening for the remainder of this week. So the final two things that we wanted to show you on the main topic of today is just about these skills we've talked about. Now, of course, you can create your own skills, but I also want to show you that there are a number of ones that are pre-built that you can use. So this is a thing called Co-work. So this is Claude down here, and I've downloaded it as the desktop application. So you want to look for Claude Desktop or Claude Co-work, and you could download it, and then you're going to open it on your actual laptop, whether it's Mac or a Windows. And when you're in Co-work, you're going to see this plugins down the bottom. So let me click on plugins, and I'm going to say browse plugins. And this was just launched a couple of I'm going to say a week ago. And Anthropic has provided a number of plugins. And these plugins caused the drop in share price of a number of tech companies where people just said, right, this is just a SaaS killer. Because if you can do all of this in Claude, then why do you need to go to legal AI, HR AI, finance AI, whatever that might be? So let's go to marketing here. So marketing, create content, plan campaigns, analyze performance across your marketing channels. Let's manage this plugin. Right, what have we got in here? We've got some commands. I want to do a brand review, a campaign plan, a competitive brief, and so on. I've got skills that we've talked about: brand voice, campaign planning, competitive analysis, content creation. Well, let's see, what does the content creation skill look like in Claude? Well, here we go. Content creation skill, content types, blog posts, social media posts, email newsletter structure. This is basically teaching Claude how to do these things, writing best practices, social media, and so on. Maybe here we've got brand voice skill, all of these kinds of things. So you don't even need to start by creating your own skills. Step number one, I would say, is just uploading the skills that are already pre-built. Once you've used them a bit and gone, okay, that's not quite us, we've got our view, then you can start to edit those and start to make them your own. So definitely one, I would take a look at those plugins for doing that. The second thing I would just suggest as we wrap up this section is that if I go into my settings and my keys and go to my skills, yes, I've got some of my skills here, but I want to point your attention to example skills. These will come by default from Claude. And one of them down here is a skill creator skill, very meta. So it helps you to create new skills, improve existing skills, and measure skill performance. So if you've got an idea for maybe it's for your own webinars or maybe it's for your own field events that you're organizing, then I'm just going to say you're going to go to your chat. Here I am in my chat. Hey, Claude, can you use the skill creator skill to help me organize field events and plan for them so that we can run great field events? Okay, that's a bad request, but I just want to show you the skill creator skill is going to help you to build your own skills. And having done that, it'll package them up and put them into your own Claude environment. My advice is, and where we've seen the best success is, get your stuff together, get your act together before you come to this. So if you wanted to create a field event skill, I would firstly be working out what field events do we want to do? What's our process? Do we have existing templates? Where are we going to post information about these events? Does it need to go onto a website? What connectors might we need? And so do that first on a whiteboard, on a flip chart, and get everything together so that when you come to creating your field event skill, when Claude asks you these types of questions, what does organize and plan mean to you in practice? You can say, good question, Claude. I've already figured that out. So this is what it means to me. So we've covered a lot in 51 minutes where we've gone through our end-to-end process. And whilst that's our process, what I hope that gives you is a bit of this confidence that you can do this yourself for your own marketing, whether it's product marketing, whether it's brand marketing, whether it's event marketing like this. You can build out the skills, automate a lot of the process, and really accelerate what you're doing. So to wrap up and bring us home, let me go. Oh, see a couple of questions there. Let me just see. Oh no, I think we're okay. That was just some comments there. Let me go back to our deck here. And AI in the news. Well, now you've seen how the sausage is made, so you know that I got my little report this morning, but I was already on it. Don't you worry, because I'm geeking out on X the whole time. The one thing that I wanted to talk about today was this release that happened last night. So it's called Sonnet 4.6 from Claude. Now, if you've used Claude before, there are three levels of their models. There's Haiku, which is a very sort of small model, just for very sort of quick tasks. Sonnet, kind of mid-range, the workhorse for everything that you're doing day by day. And then Opus, which is like cream of the crop. If you're doing real complex financial analysis, coding, anything like that, data analytics, this is where you'd be using Opus. And what's great about 4.6 is that it is I'm not going to make up the numbers about the percentage of the cost, but it is significantly cheaper than Opus. I want to say like 60% of the cost, something like that. So it's a cheaper model, but this Sonnet 4.6 is very close to the performance of Opus itself. Now, this is the sort of benchmarks that they published yesterday. Lots and lots of numbers. And you go, all right, well, I guess I just need to look at the orange things to work out what is best. Now, the third bar along, you can see is Opus 4.6. So this only came out about a week ago. This is their top leading coding model. And you can see that Opus 4.6 is leading the way on a lot of these benchmarks. But what's interesting about Sonnet 4.6, look at the two oranges there. So agentic financial analysis. So this is a benchmark of doing financial analysis across complex Excels, spreadsheets, and so on. And that is leading. It is leading even Opus 4.6. Look at office tasks. It is leading by a significant way on that. By office tasks, we think about the things that people are working on in HR, in finance, in legal. It's top of the league there, and yet at a significant price discount and a token discount to the other models. So if you're a Claude user, I would be pushing the boundaries of Sonnet 4.6 and figuring out where that best fits into your workflow. So with that, we have got an opportunity for some questions. I know we've had quite a few questions as we've gone through, and we've covered a lot of content. So do feel free to ask a question or two if you want. Caitlin, I don't know if you've got anything that comes to mind or anything that you want to ask me or anything before we wrap up.
I think I would love to know, like, what motivates you to keep up with all of this and to be at, like, as you call it, the jagged frontier?
That is a great question. I say this a lot to clients we're working with. I'm having the most amount of fun that I've had in work in 25 years, because this thing is just being built right in front of us, and I almost feel like it's a computer game. Not that I was a big gamer, but I spent a lot of time playing GoldenEye when I was at university, which is probably why I had to repeat my final year. But I enjoyed playing that game, and it was this thing of like, I'm nearly there, I'm nearly there, I'm not quite there. Oh, but I think I know how to do it right now, so I'm going to go back to the start and do it again, and you end up losing days. And I feel a lot like that right now. That yes, at the weekends I'm doing coding in Claude Code, and that is very much like a computer game of trying to solve a problem. Am I nearly there? Am I nearly there? But like as you've been experiencing with building out skills, it's the same kind of thing. Right, I want to get Claude to create a YouTube description. I want to get Claude to create a LinkedIn post that sounds like me. Oh, it's not quite there. It's not quite there. So, but I'm going to iterate. I'm going to go back to the beginning because I can see the destination. I'm not frustrated and I'm going to throw my laptop out the window. I'm going to go, oh, I'm nearly there. And this is what I'm really enjoying about it.
Hmm.
Um, a good question, and yeah, I like that. So with that in mind, keep us on time so that we're going to finish. What are we going to be doing next week? Well, because we walked through this. So let me not show my normal end of webinar slide. Let me go to the website and let's show you what we're talking about next week. I will be tweaking this a little bit to make sure that it's exactly what I want. But we are now using Carolina, a AI project manager who manages all of our projects across Kowalah. How do we communicate with Carolina? Well, I send her Slack messages through my Slack account. I email her. She emails me at 9 o'clock every Monday morning to give me a summary of all our the risks and the tasks. I reply to that email and say, oh, by the way, I had this meeting. Here are the granola notes. Can you update the tasks and the risks? So really looking forward to demoing that to you. And hopefully that will give you some ideas of some agents that you can build in your own environment. So with that, Caitlin, thank you so much for joining on today's webinar. To the guests that are joining us live, thanks so much for your questions and interaction. And for everyone that's watching on YouTube, we look forward to seeing you at next week's webinar.
All right, see you next week.
Bye, everyone.